Okay, so we're recording. So, well, welcome to the skills for the future world of work. And we know digital skills are so important now for finding work, to help save money, to help us stay connected with friends and family. So I'm really interested to learn what Microsoft are doing and the launch of their new program to help in this particular area. So I'm going to hand straight across to you, Lee, to share your presentation and talk us through.
Perfect. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Lisa, and thank you everyone for joining the session. It's going to be really informal. We'll kind of go through some of the stuff that we're doing at the moment. So yeah, just to kind of just to introduce myself, I'm Lee Jones and I lead on our digital skills here from Microsoft, working specifically with public sector. So how do we help public sector organisations themselves transform, and then also how do we help how do we help you as citizens across Dorset get the skills that you need to kind of go into the future world of work, as they say. So there's things that I want to call out before I then kind of go into some of the stuff that I'm going to do. But I'm going to share my screen at the moment, and then we'll have a little bit of a play around of some of the resources. So you'll see yourselves first of all. And let's share this one. Okay, so obviously the world in which we're living now is very different than it was last year, and digital transformation is just happening at such a pace that it's difficult for everyone to try and keep on top of things. You know, we're working in, as I said before, I'm not traveling around as I used to do. I'm working in this particular environment, constantly communicating through devices. So it's important that people think about, you know, how they're going to continuously learn and get the skills that they need as the world of work evolves moving forward. And one of the things that we actually did, so at the back end of June, Microsoft, in response to the COVID situation and response to the fact that there was, you know, millions of people across the UK that are being made redundant, millions of people that are actually furloughed, we announced a campaign to help to support people get digital skills that they need. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I'm just going to flick through to this slide here. So that's our global skills initiative that we announced at the back end of June. And then earlier on this week, off the back of that, we actually made a second announcement. So we've launched a campaign called Get On 2021, and it's a campaign to bring together lots of different organisations, local authorities, big companies. We've got KPMG right the way through to the Department for Work and Pensions involved in this campaign to look at how we can help to support 1.5 million people in the UK over the next 5 years get the skills that they need. So if obviously you are somebody who's looking to move into a digital role, or you're looking to get the technology skills, then we have different initiatives that can help to support you. And then as well as that campaign, looking at how we can get 300,000 people connected to tech jobs. So obviously the world of work will change in the fact that we'll all have to have digital capabilities across any industry that you're working in. And I'll go into some of the resources that we have, but I want to kind of point out as well that it's not necessarily just about skills. I think as an organisation, what you need to think about, and in order to attract talent, is the culture in which you actually set the objectives. So from a Dorset Council perspective, it's really important that you build in the right culture internally, and how do you make people be successful and innovate and add value. But then also as well, from an individual perspective, how do you as a person get the broader skills? How do you make sure that you are being more flexible and more agile and have motivation situation, really adding value, be that in any kind of part of your life. So what I want to do is I'm going to jump into this skills initiative, because I think that's probably where we're going to get most of the value at the moment, and then it will give us some context around some of the opportunities that there are at the moment moving forwards. But before I do that, I just want to call out, so we have lots of different resources, as I said, and one of the things that we have is we have a fantastic team of people who do webinar sessions every single day. And they cover things from, you know, how to work collaboratively, how to use Microsoft Teams, how to set up your own business, you know, how to build a Minecraft app, if that's something that you want be able to do. So there's loads of things that are happening, and I'll share the link afterwards so that you can actually then be able to go on and have a look at that. But I'm going to take you into our Global Skills Initiative. Okay, so the back end of June, we announced this initiative, and we worked together with our partners LinkedIn and GitHub, and they're all part of the Microsoft family. And obviously LinkedIn is around the professional networking piece and how do you find the jobs, and then GitHub is the developer platform. And we took the data from LinkedIn, which basically talks about how the world is changing in regards to the jobs that are in demand and the regards to the jobs that are declining as well. And what we did was we analysed that data, and then we identified 10 particular roles that will be increasing and in demand in the future. And a lot of those roles are technical roles. However, some of the roles as well aren't necessarily technical, they're more digitally enabled. So I'm going to take you through those roles in a second. But when we go back to the cultural piece, I also want to point out that there are other resources that will really help you either as an organisation, as a business leader, or as an individual who's looking at growing and looking at progressing within an organisation. So the resources are part of this announcement, usually charged. They're behind a paywall, but as part of our commitment from Microsoft, we've actually opened up these resources with LinkedIn until the end of March next year. So you'll be able to access all of the information on here. Very imperative that we get the message out as far and wide as we possibly can, because we want as many people utilising the resources, and obviously getting the skills that they need to move into successful jobs. So as I said, we've got different information on here. And there's two things I'm going to call out as part of the softer skills piece. So one is around an immediate response to COVID. So there might be people who are listening, who are watching, who have potentially lost their job or they're furloughed, or they're not necessarily sure about job security. So there's certain information on here that will be really, really useful in regards to, how you need to think about things, how you need to think about your career, what are the long-term strategies, etc., that you can build out. And then there's also this master in demand professional skills. And when we talk about culture and the world of work and how it's changing, lots of individuals now are making sure that they are working and looking for organisations to within actually have additionality, and they really think about the core values of that organisation and how they're actually having an impact on the world in a positive way. And the type of organisations like that attract people who have motivation, dedication, the ability to learn, the ability to communicate. And the soft skills element on here is obviously one of the ways in which you can get some of that experience. So I'll quickly take you into the learning path here. And sorry, I was signed in a second ago. I'll take you into the learning path here. And what it does, it takes you through to LinkedIn. Now, you don't have to have a populated LinkedIn profile. Obviously, if you're looking for jobs, then that helps, but you just need to log into the account. And what it does is it shows you a pathway of information that you can then go to. And the resources are available, video format, really, really easy to consume. So again, recovering from a layoff and how do you manage that? How to manage feeling overwhelmed? Obviously everybody in this situation at the moment can have some insight with regards to that. And again, just different things around recession-proof strategies, how to learn LinkedIn, etc., etc. Okay, so that's one of the courses that we have on there. And then the second one, and I think this is relevant to everybody. So, Lisa, from yourself, whether it be a counsellor, whether you be a CEO of the organisation, or you be somebody who's literally in an apprenticeship role, very, very early in career, new into career. And this one is around the professional skills. So like I said, how do you make sure that as you move into the business world, as you move through an organisation, that you have the broadest skill set that's actually going to make you indispensable to that organisation, because you can add value in lots of different ways. So we have things on here around emotional intelligence, embracing unexpected change, and again, trust, teamwork, communications, effective listening. All of these skill sets are what businesses are looking for when they're looking to bring people into their organisations. And the pathways, the way in which they're set out, is actually that you can either just do, you could do the module on there if you wish to, or you can do the whole pathway. Now the pathway on this one is 9.5 hours worth of content. And it might be that actually over, the next, say for example, the next 9 weeks, you say I'm going to do 1 hour session of that and really develop my my skills. And the session, at the end of the course, you'll actually get a certificate of completion. So again, if you're trying to demonstrate to an employer, or if you're trying to demonstrate to get into a role, or you're looking at moving within an organisation, having that certificate of completion is something that validates the training. And also as well, it shows that you have that motivation and get up and go and dedication to spend 9.5 hours to really invest in yourself, to develop, your softer skills. But actually looking at how the world of work is changing, how automation is impacting lots and lots of jobs, and how artificial intelligence will become something that you will need to understand moving forwards. What I want to do is I want to show you some of the other courses that we actually have. So if I go back here and I click on this Learn the Skills in Demand role, these are the roles that the data says are the ones that are currently in demand the most, that there's a lack of skills within these areas, and obviously these are growing as well. So as we digitize more, be that within a council or be that within a finance organisation, manufacturing, wherever that may be, there'll be more and more digital roles that will become available. And I think a lot of people get worried about how do they, they don't necessarily think digital skills are for me, or they get scared around it, etc. But I think it's just understanding that realistically, you probably have, if you're in the world of work, 70% of a skill set that is valuable that can then be transferred into a totally different role. And it's how do you add those and augment the skill set that you have to make it so that you're relevant in that new role, in that new world of work. Okay, so I'm going to show you on here quickly the different roles. So we have the technical roles, like I said, we've got software developer, IT administrator, data analyst. They're very clearly technical roles, and they're the ones that are most in demand. However, we also have other roles that are not necessarily digital, the perception not necessarily digital, but they're digitally enabled. In order to do those roles, you have to have digital. So again, we've got customer service specialist, project manager, sales representative, and I'll take you into one of these as an example to show you the actual pathway and how that works. So I will take you into digital marketer. Lisa, if there's any comments in the chat and people want to go through a particular one, then I'm more than happy to do that as well.
All quiet on the chat at the moment, Lee.
Yeah, no worries, no problem. It tends to be when it tends to be either have a really, really chatty audience and everyone's asking questions, which is good because then it's more interactive. So pop your questions in the chat, or everyone stays quiet. So yeah, but so this is an example of obviously one of the courses. And again, as I said, the course is completely free to access, and this role is around digital marketing. And one of the things I want to point out is that even though this is being delivered, I'm Microsoft, this is being delivered in partnership. From our perspective, the content that's being delivered is very relevant to that particular role. So it's agnostic. It's not just something that's specifically Microsoft. So you'll see if you're looking at moving into that role, or if you're somebody who's in a communications team at the moment and you want to expand your skills, then again, this is something that you can consider doing. So we've got online marketing, Google Analytics, marketing on Instagram, etc., etc. And again, you go through that course and you get that certificate of completion. Okay, so there's lots and lots of information readily available on there for you to be able to look at how you upskill. But what I want to do as well is to actually show you some of the other resources that we've created as part of this campaign. So it's all well and good getting the skills, but how do you actually get those jobs? Because that's the thing at the moment, there's this year in particular, there's huge demand for jobs that are actually currently available in the job market. Lots and lots of people, they can kind of shift around because they've been made redundant or they've lost their jobs. So what we've done is we've actually, as part of the LinkedIn platform, we've created this tool, which is specifically around preparing you for interviews. So again, it's how do you use the tools and the technology in order to be able to showcase yourself to be successful in the positions when, the new positions that come down the line. And we can't necessarily say, I can't sit here now and say these will be the jobs of the future, because, things have changed so much this year. We don't know where things will be in the next few years, never mind the next 5 to 10 years. But what I can say is that there are certain trends and there's certain skill sets that we see from a Microsoft perspective that are actually going to be able to, if you have that skill set, then you're going to be in demand from an employer perspective. And again, you're really going to be able to add value to that organisation, whether you're in public sector, private sector, or even in the voluntary organisation. So we've got people potentially who have furloughed. They may not have interviewed for 10 years. And there's probably, some anxiety around, what do I say? What are they going to ask me? I'm not necessarily sure how to present myself. So what we've done as part of the initiative is we've got the skills element on there, and then we also have the interview piece. So obviously we're living in a digital world. I'm talking to you through the device. So again, people won't have interviewed in this way before. Everyone's used to interviewing in person and being there physically. So we've got information here around interview tips, what you need to be thinking about, digital body language, and how you can actually get your messages across to the individuals and the interviewers. But the super cool part is this. So we basically have taken some of the technology that we have built into the Microsoft products, so like built into Power, etc. And done is on here, LinkedIn have collated all of the information that you will potentially be looking at when you are going for an interview. Okay, so the common questions that you will be asked in an interview are on the left hand side, and they are pretty much anything or everything that you will be asked. So again, give me an example of a time that you failed at something. What would you say is your biggest strength? What would your teammates say about you, etc., etc. So you have the ability to see potential questions in advance. Therefore, it gives you the ability to think about, actually, how will I answer those questions? And when we look at that, we also on here have the framework of how to answer particular questions. So it says, if the question is, why do you want to work here? Then, how do you answer that? You need to be succinct. You need to link to the job description. You need to be able to tie your stories into what it is that they need. So it gives you the framework. And then also on here, there's sample answers. So if I click on here, what it will do is it will provide a video which I can watch, which is 2 minutes, or I can read the transcript, and then at the end it'll tell me what worked well as part of the answer. So again, when I'm thinking, I'm going into an interview and I'm thinking, right, I want this job within the tech industry, or I want this digital, whatever, making sure that I'm really succinct with my presentation within that interview is really going to set me apart from other individuals that haven't necessarily got the skill, use these tools, etc. And the super cool thing is that what I can do is I can practice answering those questions. So I click on it, it won't work because I'm using my microphone for this Teams call. However, I can record a session answering those questions, or I can write a response, and if I click on here it'll pop up and tell me that my microphone's not working. However, I suggest everybody after this afternoon, later tonight, go on here and try this out, so I can practice answering that question. And then what the AI in the background, the artificial intelligence, will do is it will feed back to me as to whether I'm speaking too fast, whether I'm speaking too slow, whether I'm using too many colloquialisms, and I'm from Manchester, so most people can't understand half of what I'm saying anyway. So it gives me that information back, and it means that I can then understand how I'm presenting myself, and I can practice again and again and again. Excuse me. And I had just one example. I was going through this session, and it was with a college, with their team over there, and one of the ladies said, "Oh, I'm going to show this to my niece because she's a graduate. She's not actually currently in work, so I'm going to share it with her. It looks really, really cool." And then basically I got a letter, I think it must have been about 3 weeks after, an email that came through from her saying, I just want to share this. It's some feedback from my niece. And the young lady had actually gone on, done some of the skills courses, was really interested in the graphic design side of it, but really utilized this tool and found out that she spoke really fast when she was answering the questions. And she used these tools that we're kind of showing you now, and then 3 weeks later she was actually employed. And it wasn't necessarily a graduate job, but she had a job off the back of it. So, you know, it's really impactful and tangible tools that you can use in order to help you be successful moving forwards. And again, that, you know, it demonstrates to employers that you have that ability to pick things up, to learn, to be able to kind of move forward. So yeah, again, I just kind of wanted to call this out. And then there's lots of different information that we have from a Microsoft perspective. But what I want to do, Lisa, is I just want to pause there and see whether there are any questions or you know, that you want to kind of say, or feedback from anybody, because I think that this is an opportunity now for people to really, you know, engage, ask, whatever it is.
There's quite a few questions going on the chat bar. Confirmation that it's free until March next year, isn't it? And it's for everybody. There's no age restrictions. You don't need a premium LinkedIn account, do you? It's you know, it's open to everybody. Question from from Sam. What's the skill that you think everybody will need in the future but not many have?
So I actually think that the best skill that you can have, that you can build on, is the ability to be able to communicate effectively. And that's not necessarily a digital skill. And a lot of people don't particularly have that skill. There's a lot of fear around speaking in front of people and being able to kind of communicate. But I think from a softer skill perspective, that's definitely something that you need to work on and to be able to focus, because ultimately, whether you're in a digital role or you're in a, you know, any other industry, you're going to have to be able to articulate your ideas within the organization, to your boss, to your colleagues, to be able to land those messages, and to have an open mind as well, and make sure that you are working with diverse people within the organisation, you know, taking on different ideas. So I think that that ability to communicate with people is going to be fundamental. And then also as well, the other element will be, how do you leverage the technology? So it's not about a particular technology, it's about making sure that you can leverage the technology in the right way in order to be successful. So how can you get yourself to a mindset where you can use different types of technology that are then going to be able to impact? I mean, there's loads of things at the moment I can say, you know, focus on data scientists are hugely in demand. And again, so that's something that we can, you know, that you could particularly focus on and how you use that. But then as well, you know, there's loads of different things. And I think business strategy is another area that you need to think about, and how do you use digital tools and the understanding of technology aligned to those different areas. So
there's quite a lot of praise coming in as well, Lee, just for this incredible kind of program that's been put together from Microsoft. So that's really great to hear. Somebody's already shared with
share with
a friend. So that's
and feedback as much as possible. And like I say, you know, it's very much a case of there are jobs out there, and organizations are looking for people with the skill set, and there isn't necessarily everyone who has the skill set. So if you're coming out of college or school or university and you're thinking, you know, I really need to look at something that's going to help me to be successful, then the resources that are available at the moment, you know, they're completely free until the end of March. It says premium on there, but actually it's completely free. By for the end of March, what the next iteration will be, I'm not sure, but I'm sure we'll be doing something else. So it's a case of utilize the tools that are available now, because they're going to really set you up for success. And the softer skills piece as well, I think that's essential. Going through that course, you know, there's stuff on there that I've done that I really value from. Been working considerably long time, I'll not say, but yeah, so I've been working for a long time, and there's still things that I'm constantly learning. I think that's, you know, that's the one takeaway, is making sure that you actually have a mindset around learning and around building skills, because it's not necessarily, you're not going to learn one skill and that's going to be relevant for the rest of your life. One, because the skill demands will change, but actually because you have to have that constant learning. You know, my job changes from day to day as new things kind of come in. So I think that's the thing as well, Lisa, is that actually making sure that you have the mindset to absorb information and constantly learn, constantly challenge yourself, because ultimately, at the end of the day, irrespective of what job you do or what role you do, we're all people. So we have to be able to kind of get value back from our jobs as well.
Definitely. I'm going to do a really swift handover to Penny now, who's going to help facilitate the next question from David, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Hello, Lee. Good morning. Good afternoon, in fact. I heard you on the show this morning, so welcome to Dorset. David, would you like to ask your question? Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question about accreditation?
Cool, such a privilege. Thank you, Penny. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what you talked about this morning, Lee, is absolutely brilliant, and you make some very good points about, you know, more and more jobs are going to require digital skills, and the accessibility of what you've been putting online is terrific. But accreditation of skills and knowledge is hugely important to employees. Do you have evidence that employees are recognising people having done these courses and coming up with a certificate which they could possibly have made themselves? Is it being recognised and valued by employers?
Yeah, so I mean, there's two kind of elements, David, actually, when we talk around the certification. So actually, I'm working at the moment with the Department for Work and Pensions, and they're seeing a lot of value with individuals going through the courses and getting the completion certificates, as well as the resources that we put out. We've also provided some reduced official certification, so aligned to Microsoft accreditations that employers are actually putting within job descriptions that are in high demand, and some of those certificates that they're not part of all of the courses, they're aligned to the software developer, data scientist, etc. roles, and they actually are heavily subsidized exams. So instead of it being, I think it's like $100 and something that it used to be, as part of this initiative, it's been reduced down to $15. So approximately £12 for you to take that exam and get that official accreditation. So again, there's the certificate of completion as part of the actual course, but then there's also additional certificates that you can get. And if you go onto a job site or you go on somewhere and you actually search for I don't know, Microsoft accreditation or Azure skills, you'll see that there's so many jobs that come up that are aligned to that. So yeah, the more skills that you have in that space, the more opportunities that you'll have moving forwards.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Was that, did that answer your question, David?
Yep, thank you very much.
Any more questions for Lee? It is a fantastic programme. I didn't hear all your presentation today, but I have been aware of it for some time, and we are going to do some publicity around it here in Dorset to really boost people's awareness of it. So we'll be working with David, with you no doubt, and Katrina to do that.
What I'd like to do as well, Penny, I'm more than happy to take questions. If not, then I can kind of go through some more resources. So again, free resources, and I can share the slide with everybody so that they've got access, and we can look at it and sharing it out to everybody. But I mean, happy to spend the time answering the questions. More than happy to go through some of the other fantastic stuff that we have.
By the looks of things, I think we're ready to hear some more, Lee, if that's all right.
Perfect. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again and pop this one up. And then pop this one up. Okay, so what we've actually done, as well as the when it pops up, as well as the resources that we have as part of the initiative, we also have lots of other resources as well that are available, and it can potentially look a little bit overwhelming, the information on here. However, it's broken down into different buckets. So again, on the side, and how do we help support people who don't necessarily, have the skills even to get, to utilize a computer and accessing information online. And although Microsoft don't necessarily specialize within that space, we do have some resources from a digital literacy perspective. And these are kind of listed here. So again, on this slide, everything is a clickable link. So if, for example, if somebody was interested, they could use this slide, click on the link, then what it will do is it will automatically take them out through to the resource online where they can learn about how to utilize working with computers. So again, it comes through, it gives videos, information, etc. And then I can kind of go through and it does a quiz, etc. at the end of it. So I can kind of access the different information on here. A lot of times, if you look across lots of different businesses, productivity is one thing that is called out, and how do we make sure that as an organisation we're helping to support our individuals to be more productive. And it might be that actually you've been using Outlook or PowerPoint for years, but there's certain things in there that you don't actually know about. So again, you can kind of click on a different element on here. So how do I look at formulas and functions within Excel, because I've forgotten how to do it. And I can click on the information, and again, completely free. And this is free beyond March. The information on the slide, aside from a few of the LinkedIn courses, is completely free and will be forever free. So I want to make sure that people are aware of that. So again, I can click on here. It tells me step by step how to create a formula. And sometimes actually people within an organisation, they don't want to say that they don't know how to do a particular thing in Excel, because there's that assumption that people know how to do all of these things. So having this resource within the council available to the staff, or having this as a resource as an individual for yourself job ready, so the productivity piece, then obviously this is all available. The soft skills piece, a lot of that information sits within the LinkedIn course, and we said the importance around looking at how do you make sure that you can communicate effectively, why do you make sure that you're kind of like looking at building resilience within yourself, etc., etc. And then on the right hand side, this is predominantly for people within technology departments or people who want to move into tech roles. And these are what we call the cloud fundamentals. So most people will be aware that as we move into the future, the majority of technology and the majority of systems will no longer sit within servers in buildings. Everything's hosted in the cloud, the same way your WhatsApp messages are, the same way that potentially your photos are stored on your iPhone, etc. Everything's kind of sits within the cloud. So being able to understand how to utilize and work with the cloud will be, again, another great skill set to have. And one of the things I want to call out is this Power Platforms fundamental. So if I click on this, Power Platforms, basically what that does is it enables people to build applications, but really in a low code, no code way. So you don't necessarily have to understand how to write in Python or a different coding language. It's more like a drag and drop element where you can then look at a particular process in the organization or within any business, and you can use Power Platforms to really help to streamline that and maybe mitigate a lot of the existing systems that organization has. Super simple. If you have some kind of understanding, then obviously you can kind of like skip to the next stage. But this is very much from the beginning and a basic introductory course. So if anyone's looking at, if you've been doing web application or design or something around there, then I'd suggest kind of picking, having a nosy at that one. And then the one other thing that I want to call out on here is around this continued learning. So this session around the future world of work, and this section here is all the things that you need to think about moving forwards. So we have on here a guide to sustainability. Now I know Ellen did a sustainability session earlier on today, and it's important that businesses think about how they're going to be sustainable, that individuals think about how they can add value to that organisation. So we've got content on here. We've got content around the AI Business School. So again, how do you utilize artificial intelligence within an organization? And lots of business leaders will know the strategy of the organization. They'll know the direction. Are they trying to mitigate costs, or are they trying to consolidate services? And within councils, that tends to be something that the strategic leaders are looking at. But then you'll have the IT teams who potentially will understand the technology. And how do you bring those two elements together so that the leaders understand what the technology can do, and the tech teams who know the technology understand what the strategic direction is of the organization? So again, if I click on the AI Business School, it'll take me out completely free to access. And it talks around things around, you know, the AI strategy, what you need to be thinking about. Again, you know, responsible AI, making sure that there's no bias and different things in there. And there's a pathway on here for government. There's different pathways. So for anybody listening, if you're interested into, you know, retail and you want to understand how artificial intelligence is going to impact that particular sector, then there's information. But I'll click on this government one, obviously, just because I know there's people from the council that are on and attending as well. And this again is something that you can kind of utilize within your learning and development teams. Again, you can kind of go through, it gives you the framework of how to utilize AI within government. And again, once you complete the course, then you get a certificate and you get a badge, and you can put that, you know, you can put that in your LinkedIn profile or wherever else that is. Okay, I'm going to pause, Penny. Are there any other questions that have come up so far before I go into the next thing?
No, I can't see that there are any more questions.
Okay.
I crack on. We're getting to near the end of the session, but crack on.
Yeah, no, there's literally just one more thing that I want to call out. So when we talk about culture and the future of work, accessibility and diversity inclusion is one of the things that's a key focus. So again, how do you as an individual make sure that you understand what accessibility means, how you can create accessible content, etc. So we have this course on here, again, completely free, probably the best 2.5 hours that you'll do. We've just embedded this within the Department for Education's skills toolkit. So again, this is something that's being promoted. And making sure that people understand the culture of accessibility, the language, why it's important to make sure that you are being inclusive to your colleagues or inclusive to your customers, audience, citizens, etc. And then on here, it takes you through the tools. It takes you through the different kind of tips and tricks within the different kind of product set. But what I want to do is just call out one. So let me go back here. Let me council. Okay, so I'm going to click up Dorset. I probably should have done the festival, but I haven't. So I'm going to click on here. So this is the Dorset website, and I'll click on applying for jobs. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for something at the top here that comes up as a more immersive reader. So obviously there's lots of different jobs that are being advertised. If I go to working for Dorset, see if it comes up. Okay, it's not coming up on there, but I'll show you in a second. I'll go back to Dorset. So I'm going to go to the AI Business School because I know it's on here. So we have something called Immersive Reader. If I click on Immersive Reader, that delivers the content to me in an accessible way. So you see the background at the moment is pink. People who are dyslexic can consume that information in a better way. So if I turn it off, obviously I can change the size of the text. On there, make it bigger, smaller, I can have it read aloud. But what I can do, and I'm going to do it so that we're at some text, and you can see it on here. So the text here, I can, if I wish, by the click of a button, automatically translate that into a different language. Okay, so that's a click of a button. So what I want to do is I want to do this on the Dorset site. Okay, so you've got information here around strategic planning. I can click on the immersive reader. That'll bring the information direct to me. So if we go back to that jobs page and you're advertising for jobs for people to come in, or you're a business and you're advertising for people, or you're an individual and you don't necessarily speak English as a first language, you can use this tool that's built into the technology already, and you can translate it into your first language to help you to understand that information. So it's not necessarily a digital skill. but it's a tool and it's the technology that's there that's available for you to utilise. And I just want to show it because most people don't know that it's there. So yeah, that was another thing. I mean, any thoughts or comments on that from anybody?
That's really interesting. I hadn't seen that before. I thought you were pulling out the fact that Dorset Council didn't have this technology available to it, but you're saying that it's not something that's on the website.
The technology is actually immersed within the Edge browser, so the Microsoft Edge browser. It sits in there, but the way that it does it is actually it reads the information on the page, and if there's enough information for the AI in the background to consume, it automatically pulls it up. If not, then you just highlight that text and it pulls it up as well. So there's a way in which to do it, and there's probably, if I'd have spent another kind of couple of seconds looking through the site, there will be places where it automatically comes up. But it's just to make sure that people, we talk about what are the skills that we need, and it's not artificial intelligence and all of the things around, the kind of software developer. It's understanding that actually there's certain things that are freely available now that you can use to add value to yourself, to your colleagues, to your organisation, and the translation tool is just one of those things. So, yeah.
Yes. Fantastic. Look, we've had a comment from Katrina. I really enjoyed this session, but we'll probably go back and watch it again because it was so good. And actually, I've made notes of people who I think in our team should also watch it. So I can see the applicability of it. It's absolutely fantastic. I wonder if other people have got comments on Lee's presentation. You'd like to pop them into the chat now, or tweet about what you've seen today. Don't forget to use the hashtag Futurefest, and we'll pick that up and retweet and engage with you on Twitter. Thank you so much, Lee, for coming along and sharing that with us.
Absolute pleasure. If anyone wants to reach out on LinkedIn, then I'm more than happy. Then I spend quite a lot of time there. I'm more than happy to kind of answer any particular questions that people have. So yeah, don't be shy, and make sure you use the tools. Yeah.
That's really kind. Thank you. I think we'll be doing that. Follow us on @DigitalDorset, please too. Absolutely. Please do follow us. Finally, this session has been recorded, so you can go back and watch it again. It'll probably take a day or two to upload. Don't imagine it'll be there immediately, but it won't be long. Very nice to see you all today. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and goodbye.
Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.